Welcome to the Raising Smart Kids podcast. I'm your host, Yang Pratt, and each week we'll explore ways in which the arts can help you raise a smarter kid. I'll be sharing ways the arts can propel your child's learning and interviewing top artists, educators, and entrepreneurs. These guests will share why the arts are so very important to your child, along with actionable ideas you can easily implement into your already busy schedule. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast here on iTunes and share us with a friend. For extra tips on raising smart kids, head on over to artsmartparenting.com and click on the Live tab. Happy Friday, Art Smart parents, and welcome to episode number 43 of the Raising Smart Kids 2.0 podcast. One of the goals of this podcast has been to be able to bring you guests with expertise in all areas of arts, education, and entrepreneurship so that they could share what they know about the arts, how it benefits our kids, and tips that you can use each and every week to incorporate the arts into your already busy lives. And today is no different. Our guest today is Anna Tilsen. Anna is a mother of two, stepmother of two, auntie to many, and teacher to thousands. She has dedicated her life to arts education with a specialty in early childhood. She is the owner of Dance and Magic, a dance and music studio in St. Paul, Minnesota. In addition, she has been teaching dance in the Twin Cities area preschools for over 15 years after graduating with a dance certification with a teaching emphasis from Santa Rosa College in Santa Rosa, California. She has an abundance of knowledge and helpful hints to share from her experience in arts education and as a parent. She decided to start a blog to be able to help parents foster creativity and confidence in their children. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I know I need to get back into that as well. We're taking a bit of a detour, I guess. We're going a different direction. So I'm like, okay, I haven't really returned lots of calls. I haven't done any Facebook ads because I don't really want anybody new right now, just because we're going, I need to make a transition before I want to onboard anybody else. Otherwise, it just gets weird, because we're going to terminate the program as we know it in December and then start fresh in January. So it's okay. Anna, is there anything that I missed in your bio that you wanted to let the audience know about?
No, I think you covered everything. Thank you so much for that nice introduction.
Sure, fantastic. Well, I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know how you came to come to the world of dance and what that journey has looked like for you.
Yeah. Well, I started working with children at a very young age when I was a teenager in theater and community education. And so when I went to college, I knew that I wanted to go the education route. And I decided to go with dance education. So I went out to California to get my dance education degree. Because here in the Midwest, it wasn't a thing back then. Might be dating myself a little bit, but they didn't really have dance education. They only had dance performance. So I really wanted to get that education aspect of it because I loved working with children. So after I moved back to Minnesota, I started working for different dance studios and different programs, and I really fell in love with working with preschools. I traveled around to different preschools, and I worked a lot with those young children. I taught quite a few classes a week in the mornings doing that, and then in the evenings at the studio. I found that working with young children was a blessing. It really helped me discover my why and why I wanted to teach dance, because you got to see how the children develop and learn. Young children in early childhood development are in their fastest growth periods. Not only physically, you see how tall they get every month, but you also see mentally how they are learning and developing and learning all of those skills that they need to be kindergartners one day.
And I love that too. I'm currently teaching a class of 3s and 4s, and I haven't actually taught this age group for so long. And I'm finding, just like you, that they bring me such joy because everything is so exciting for them. They're not afraid to really try anything because they haven't learned about certain boundaries that perhaps society sets up for them on what's acceptable and what's not. And it's just this discovery every single week, and there's that the light bulb is on the entire time, and it's so much fun to see that. So thank you for talking about these little kids, because I think this is where sort of the foundational aspects of how parents can help their kids grow into smarter, more confident kids really comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe those young early childhood years are definitely critical in creating that type of environment where they're able to learn and grow from the arts.
Right. So if listeners are at home with little kids, now it seems like there's so many activities. They can play soccer, they can go to basketball, they can do all sorts of things: dance classes, music lessons, rec lessons, swim lessons. So what is it about the arts classes that makes them so important for young children?
I think a couple of things. First of all, it's something that they can succeed in. We're in Minnesota, the state of hockey, which I love hockey, but you put a 3-year-old in ice skates and they can barely balance.
Yeah, right.
You're lucky if they can make a straight line in the ice. However, when you go into something like the arts, dance or music, they can learn, they can become dancers, they can become musicians. You can have, that 3-year-old learn how to do a passe and learn how to do a chasse and learn how to put their feet in first position. It's something they can accomplish and feel good about, and they can actually be dancers and grow into it. And then the other thing is, like I said, just about how fast they grow, right? So this is really the time that you are trying to grow the critical thinking skills, the skills that help them problem solve. Pattern making skills is huge at this age. This is where they learn how to create patterns in their head and then make their body do them. So if you have a pattern of four marches and 4 claps and 4 marches and 4 claps, they're creating that pattern of counting, the pattern of actually making their body physically do it, and just how to make a pattern. And when they do go into any kind of school environment, whether it's homeschool or at a regular school, they are going to be heavily learning patterns for all of their mathematical skills. So you're teaching them skills beyond just the physical aspect.
Yes, and I have this discussion with parents a lot too, because from the outside, they see a dance class, for instance, as a place where they can have their kid engage with other kids, learn some social skills, and wear a very cute costume with a tutu at the end of the year. But when I talk to them about what's really happening, and like you mentioned, there's so much growth and development. Their brains are growing and the connections in their brain are multiplying at such a rapid rate. And being able to be an influence at an early age to give them opportunities to explore and, like you said, to succeed are huge, because those successes they have at a young age are going to be so impactful as they get into middle school and high school.
Yeah, really are. And I've seen that firsthand.
Excellent. And if parents are looking to get their kids involved in, say, a dance class or even a music lesson when their kids are young, what are some tips that you could give to them to help seek out the best place for them?
I know as a parent, what we tend to look at first is price and location. Right.
Yes.
And it is important for those things to be consistent. Okay. You definitely want to find a place that you can consistently go, once a week, twice a week or so forth when they're young. However, what I really want you to concentrate on, though, more so is the values. So the values of that particular place that you're looking at. So a lot of them do free tours or free trial lessons or a discounted trial. And I definitely suggest going in there and seeing if that particular place meets your family values, because it really is about the growing and the learning that they will be experiencing. And it's really an investment in your child. You will see, if it's not the cheapest place, that's okay, because you will see if it's the place that will help them grow the most and learn the most, because you will see that investment again in their education and in their development, for sure.
And that's such a great word that I use as well, is that investment. You're not just investing in them today, you're investing in who they're going to become 20 years from now, because every experience they have, starting when they're little, all the way through when they're an adult and on their own, those things are going to be making a difference in how this person relates to the world, how confident they are, what leadership skills they possess. And so definitely if parents can find a place, and I love that you said values, because values are really important. And, when I first, got into teaching, of course I had my own values, but I didn't really express that or know how to explain that. But now, as I'm on the other side, I'm a parent of 2 kids. Yeah, a company's values become increasingly important, and they're either going to resonate with you or they're not.
Exactly. And each family has their own values that they have and that they support. And it's very important to find a place that aligns with your own family values, because that's a place that hopefully you'll be learning from for a very long time and grow with your child.
Yes, and time's another critical factor too, because it's easy to think that when we enroll our kids in that 6-week or 8-week rec program, at the end, they're going to have some skills. And while that may be true, we know that in the arts, it's all about the journey. It's not about that destination, as the quote goes. It's about what you're learning along that journey and how those little steps are going to add up to the big celebration at the end, when there are massive skills and there are massive social implications that are positive for them. It's interesting to sort of talk to parents about what that looks like. And again, going back to your word investment, it really is an investment in the journey.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, in talking specifically with early childhood, they can learn a few skills in 6 to 8 weeks, but you will see a really great return on your investment in your child if you do go the long haul and go a year or 2, up to, graduating high school even, if you do decide to continue it that long. But it's that long-term, week after week, repeating these patterns, repeating these lessons, developing these. Okay, now 4 marches and 4 claps and 4 marches and 4 claps. Let's add another step. Let's add another pattern. Let's see if we can do it in 3s. Let's see if we can add balance to it while you're doing it. So it's really where you're going to develop the most is in that long-term, consistent classes.
Absolutely. It's interesting how I think arts education after school sort of gets segmented into recreation. And yes, it is recreation, but it's no different than any sort of other education. I mean, we're sending our kids to school for 4 to 6 hours a day for 12 or 13 plus years, because we want them to have that continuous education, for those patterns, like you said, to be repeated, for those skills to be gained upon, because you need a great base layer to be able to get to the top of the pyramid. So it's interesting to think that we sometimes as a society think that there's a quick fix to creating this great dancer or creating this great musician, because when we see them on the stage, they make it look so effortless and so easy. And our kids see that picture and that's what they have in their mind, not necessarily understanding that it's just like going to school, that it has to be a long process. And it may not always be fun. However, there's always going to be lessons to be learned in that process.
Yeah, process is huge.
Absolutely.
It's really, really big.
So we talked a little bit about the different values different studios have. And one of the things I think we have in common is about fostering leaders. Mm-hmm. How can the arts specifically help to foster stronger, more confident leaders?
Yeah, definitely. The arts can foster leaders in several different ways. One is that, a lot of the arts takes teamwork, right? In a dance class, we have teamwork. Even in our music classes, we like to work in small groups often. Developing that inner relationships, within not only the communication verbally, but you're physically holding somebody's hand. You're looking at them. You're trying to match their dance steps. That level of teamwork isn't often found. So I think that is somewhere where you can develop that type of teamwork and develop that. There's also creative thinking. Creative thinking is something that can be not only in the arts, but it can be outside of the arts as well. So when you're talking about a leader, you're talking about somebody who can creative think and can problem solve and can lead their team. So you're talking about things like, following the arts in trying to create not only what you're taught, but also what you're not taught, and what you're able to let loose, and what you're able to freestyle, or what you're able to get creative with, and create drama with, and tell stories with, because a lot of arts is about storytelling. So then within that storytelling, you're really fostering that creative thinking process. And then there's also goal setting. Now, a lot of times in the arts, like you said, we have like those recitals, those end of the year goals, and those can be really important with fostering leaders, because leaders always have a goal in mind. So maybe your goal in mind is that end recital, and you're working hard towards it. You're learning all of the choreography, you're following the teacher, you're listening, you're correcting. You're also taking those critiques and you're correcting it. Hey, I need you to stomp louder here, and then they follow that correction. And they do that for the purpose of, whatever goal that is. That could be a performance. That could also be just a particular step that they're learning. With the older kids, I know turns are big. They love doing turns. So, you're starting with, your simple little chaîné turns, and then you develop it into, a single turn and then a double turn. You're learning balance. Of course, every ballerina's goal is to be doing those fouettes, but you don't get there by just going for it one time. You get there by setting that goal and reaching it little by little and using those steps. So when you're talking about a leader, they know how to do that. Our dancers know how to look forward to the goal ahead, and how to do small steps to get there. And I think that's really important for a life lesson, in learning. You can do that with any goal that you're setting.
And that's great too. And I think the whole talk about goal setting for parents with young kids, what does that look like? Because I can hear it in my mind saying, wait, my kid is 3, or why are they setting goals? What's happening? Can you give me an example of why goal setting is so important in the early childhood age group?
In the early childhood age group, goal setting is really important to build confidence. Confidence is something that they need. And they can learn easily through goal setting. So let's say a 3-year-old, really wants to be on that stage. Okay, well, here's how we get there. Let's learn this. Let's focus on doing this choreography. And again, focusing for a 3-year-old is not easy. But if you make it fun for them, then they can learn it. And once they learn it, they feel really good about themselves. Once they feel really good about themselves, they're building that confidence that it takes to reach that goal. And they just really, once they reach that goal, they are so proud of themselves.
Yes.
It's something that they did. And, 3-year-olds and young children, they can't do a lot by themselves. They can't cook for themselves. They can't drive themselves, to the park or whatever. Most of them can't even tie their shoes themselves. However, they can set that goal for themselves. They can know the small steps they need to get there, and they can achieve that goal. And if they do that multiple times over and over and over again, that really sets in the confidence that they can really create, and solve any goal that they set for themselves.
How would you recommend that parents document a young child's goals and what they do when they attain them?
There's lots of different ways to do that. The best way for young children, I believe, is immediate gratification. Okay, they're not going to understand, okay, in 6 months, I want you to do this. They're going to understand, in small steps. So they're going to understand, okay, I want you to listen to your teacher today. And if you listen to your teacher today, a lot of parents use rewards. So, we're going to go out and get your favorite kind of apple, or, have a special trip somewhere after you go to class and you listen to your teacher. So when you get to that and then you're getting, okay, you're doing a really good job listening to your teacher. Now I want you to really look at their feet when you're dancing, So, all right. So then they're looking at their feet when they're dancing, okay, great. Awesome. I'm going to get your favorite kind of apple again, and just reinforcing that over and over again, that when they do create that short, achievement for the day, they get a reward at the end. Maybe it's just a hug. Maybe it's a sticker that their teacher gives them. Maybe it's a stamp, but to praise them for their goal in the short term means a lot. So after they come out of the class with their sticker on their card or in their hand or on the stamp, whatever they come, give them a hug, tell them how wonderful they did, how proud you are of them. That can go a long, long, long way in life.
Absolutely. Making a big deal out of the small wins really bolsters them so that they know next time when they try something new, they maybe aren't going to be as afraid of it because they had success before. So I love being able with little kids to document that, and stickers and stamp charts. Those are all great visual tools. I'm a very visual learner. My kids are very visual. So when they were little, having that little stamp chart or a little magnet board where they could get all of them across the board and there was some sort of reward at the end was definitely such a great tool for them because it got them excited about reaching their goals at a very young age.
Exactly.
Parents today are so busy. Earlier we talked about, kids have so many activities to choose from, and if a family has more than one child, they're often mom's taxi service for 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon where they're running back and forth from this activity to the next. What is one simple tip a parent could do after listening to our podcast today to incorporate any kind of arts into their lives?
Yeah, well, I'm a busy parent myself, and I guess what helps me a lot is having books in the car. And I know it seems simple, but you think about homework time. My child is assigned about an hour's worth of homework every night, and just to squeeze that in, we're going, oh my gosh, squeezing that in between the activities. How do we do that? And a simple way is just getting their reading done in the car. So a half hour of reading is what they require for the school every night. And even that 15-minute ride to dance class and back, so they're 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back, boom, he has his half-hour reading already done. So, keeping those books that are going to keep them engaged in the car really helps us cut down on the homework time a lot, as well as, they're not staring at a screen, which I love. I know a lot of these days they have, tablets and phones they can look at when they're driving in the car, but just to sit down and read a paper book, I think is really important for focusing, as well as, just time management for our family.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up books for a couple of reasons. One, I love reading, and my kids love reading as well. That was something that at a very young age I wanted to instill in them. So we started reading before they were even born. But I think people often forget about the literary arts. In school, they just read. But there's no discussion about the arts that goes behind putting a novel together, putting a story together, what the illustrations look like. It's all just a big piece of art. And I think that most of us forget about the art behind the words.
Yeah. Language arts is huge. It is huge for that development as well. You're talking about, creative writing, it can be a really great form of expression for a lot of children. And a lot of times children that are, into the arts in other aspects would also be into the arts in writing and reading and painting. And, there's lots of different ways you can define on what your art is, but if you're an artist, it really does go across the board often.
Absolutely. Now, Anna, you've been a teacher for a number of years. Can you share maybe one story of how the arts has transformed a life at your school?
There's so many, but I guess the one closest to my heart is my own daughter. She was really shy. She was that shy girl who didn't want anybody watching her, didn't want anybody looking at her. First 3 recitals we're talking 3 years,
Mhm.
and 1 year after the other, she ran off the stage. She didn't want to perform
Wow.
anything in front of anybody at any time, although she loved learning in class.
Mhm.
And I always tell parents, a lot of times performing isn't black, it isn't black or white. It isn't one or the other. Either you're a performer or you're not. It's a process, just like any other
Mhm.
process. So I tell parents it's a lot like swimming. So some kids jump in the water right away, and some kids stare at the water for a while, put their toe in, eventually maybe go up to their knees and get out of the water again, then maybe go up to their waist and they slowly get in the water. And this is kind of the case of my daughter. She, like I said, she was super shy. And now she has used, what she has learned in class with her pattern making, her creative thinking, her teamwork and small groups, to eventually, she did get on that stage and perform. Eventually she did, perform not only at recitals, but she's, choreographed her own competition pieces and, really has become a dancer in her own right and uses the stage to express herself. And it's just a total 180 just by letting her go in slowly with the
Mm.
performance aspect. But this also really changed her life at school because it gave her the courage to do things like student council, Model UN, public speaking.
Mm.
Now she's a freshman in high school. She got chosen to go to special creative writing conferences. These are all things that if she didn't have the arts, I'm not sure that she would go that direction. She might be more of an introverted child. However, now she's a freshman in high school at a performing arts school. And I'm just so proud of her for being able to
Mm.
use the arts as her voice. She didn't have, she was real shy at first, but now she really has used the arts to express herself and create those leadership positions for herself. And she's looking into going into being a lawyer and, going to pre-law. And she's really excited to do that. And the arts has given her the basis for the education to do that. She knows how to perform well at school. She knows how to, have the teamwork, and she knows how to public speak now.
Yeah, and I love this example because it really ties into the fact that sometimes, kids in school can struggle, whether they're shy or they don't do well academically, and they can feel where they're kind of lost. But then
Yeah.
you introduce them to the arts, and all of a sudden, like you said, they have a voice, and they're able to see what they can do themselves. They see their accomplishment. They see those goals being created. So of course, what they do in the dance classroom or the music classroom or any kind of arts classroom is going to transcend those walls and become part of who they are in their everyday life. So what a great example of how the arts improves school performance directly.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. And it gave her that confidence to do that. And, I'm just so proud of her and what she has accomplished so far. And then I'm, really proud in the direction that she's going as well. And
Absolutely.
her goals are high, and she
Yes.
can achieve them. Yeah.
You should be so proud, yeah, because that is huge. It's a mother's greatest joy to be able to see our kids, go boldly into the world and not hold back and keep themselves from doing what they are meant to be doing in this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Anna, what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you, especially those listeners who have children in the early childhood age?
I do have a blog. It's danceandmagic.com, DANCENMAGIC.com. And if you can click on blogs there, you can go ahead and read the blogs. There are some blog articles there. You can also get a hold of me on Facebook. I'm at Anna.Tilsen Mogeni. And are you going to put a link in show notes or?
Yes, I will. So I'll put
Excellent.
a direct link to your blog page as well as your link to Facebook. So absolutely, we want our listeners to be able to reach out, ask you questions, and engage with you.
Absolutely, anytime.
Perfect. And then, Anna, before we say our goodbyes today, is there one parting piece of advice you could leave with parents today?
I guess I think the parting word of advice would be to get involved, make the investment, dip your toe in the water, just as it's, it might be hesitant to do so, but dip your toe in the water, then go up to your knees. See how the creative arts work for your family and work for your child, because that's the only way to find out, is to just try it out.
Awesome. That is excellent advice, because I think that if a whole family gets involved and the kid is not just being dropped off, the results that come at the end are going to be that much sweeter and that much greater, and the whole family can celebrate together.
Absolutely. And they really love that support. That child will take that with them.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for your time and your expertise. I had such a great time talking to you today, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll connect soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Raising Smart Kids podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please share us with a friend and head on over to iTunes and leave us a review there and let us know you're enjoying the show. If you're looking for more tips on raising smart kids, head to Amazon.com and pick up a copy of my first book, Raising a Superhero: How to Unleash Your Child's 8 Superpowers and Propel Learning Through the Arts. Thanks for allowing me to be your guide on this parenting adventure, and I look forward to catching you next time.